Time for me to come clean, okay. Drinking the ocean drink of the Aussie Osborne. Isn't the Osbornes, but let's watch this one about military. It's got a picture of Richie Sunak in a military uniform from Full Metal Jacket. A film or movie, if you've seen it, let's put it on. That's what the woman says about what's going to happen in the UK, World War III.
Dystopia warning. Obviously, welcome back to General Election 2024. Day 4. We're only on day 4. Now it's time for me to come clean, as the police make their way to my house. I know that I've been making anti-Tory content for 4 years now, spelling out the multiple instances of criminality and corruption in the Conservative Party. But I must confess, yes, it's me. I'm running Rishi Sunak's election campaign. Well, you'd bloody think it, wouldn't you? Not now, Fort Police. So last night I edited, recorded and uploaded a video, and then within moments the Tories dropped their latest insane idea, didn't they? They're 20 plus points behind in the polls, right? Generally expected to get a pasting. The country's bitter, divided and increasingly racist, thanks to them. So what have they come up with then? What's their number one plan? National service. Yeah, because punishment is always a winning policy. So why do I think they've done this? Firstly, to deflect from Sunak's shocking first 3 days on the campaign trail, which could have only gone worse if he was accompanied by a registered nonce. Although judging by the Tories' record in power, statistically, he's most likely to be surrounded by registered nonces. I think this is a part of their whole scaremongering campaign. In part, do you remember in the days leading up to the general election being announced, they got old, terrifying scarecrow Oliver Dowden to go out and say Britain should have 3 days worth of tinned food and water, even though countless people are, living on food banks. Excellent idea, tickets. But what does national service bring up in your mind? Conscription. Danger. They've been ceding that Putin's an increasing threat, despite the fact they've been happy to take the money of oligarchs, and their oligarchs use London as a laundromat for their ill-gotten gains for many years now. Johnson put the son of a KGB agent in the House of Lords. In terms of being a plan, it's exceedingly poorly thought out. It's mandatory, yet they won't arrest or introduce penalties for people that don't do it. So the two key things that Labour are being accused of, not funding things properly and not having a plan, are precisely what the Tories are doing. Where are they going to find the money when they've tanked the economy, lost tens of billions to COVID fraud? I say lost. Their mates' yachts were pretty worthy investments, weren't they? They've wasted $500 million on a disastrous Rwanda policy, but found the money to slightly level up their target constituencies where their ministers live, so they look like they're doing something, whilst the rest of the country is left with nothing. In short, to quote the Wheelstone Raider, they've got no fans, but they've also got no plans. They're doing this at a time when they've cut the armed services, so who's going to train all these people that are forced into essentially, unpaid labour? Nobody. It won't come to fruition because my nan has got a better chance of winning this election than the Conservative Party. But do you want to hear the funniest bit about how they claim they're going to pay for it? By nicking Labour's clamp down on those that avoid tax. Tory MPs. So they're going to clamp down on people that avoid tax. Some of the biggest tax avoiders are Tory MPs. So let's get into why they're really doing it, shall we? Besides trying to obviously deflect from the most shocking start to an election campaign in history, I think they're doing this to try and appeal to the grey vote, who are shuffling off in their droves to Lib Dem, Reform, Labour. Let's have another little look at the voting intention table, shall we? Only 7% of 18 to 24-year-olds are willing to vote Tory, and they're the ones that have a average IQ that barely reaches room temperature, presumably, or those with excessive pain kinks, Overwhelmingly, they want progressive parties to represent them. Now, it used to be that people aged 50 and over broadly voted Conservative. That's changed. They're either voting Labour, or they're neck and neck with the Tories, or they're moving over to Reform. They're trying to appeal to those older voters by throwing the young under the bus. Now, I need to put the disclaimer in that this doesn't mean that I'm referring to all older people. There's a legendary section of older people that will never vote Conservative who get out and protest this government. But I'm talking broadly in terms of how people have voted over the last 20 odd years. They're trying to appeal to those Tory voters by essentially forcing the young into community service to fix a country that the Conservatives have broken. The old adage of you get more right wing as you get older no longer applies, because the Conservatives have completely broken the social contract, which used to work both ways. Younger people are increasingly futureless, and they can't go through the natural process of going to uni, or getting a job, buying a house, etc. And those older voters, broadly, and the Conservatives have broken the future prosperity of Britain with their disastrous Brexit referendum, which was essentially disaster capitalists and hedge funders betting against Britain's prosperity and cashing in whilst we all suffer the consequences. And it plays on the common misconceptions that a lot of older people have about younger people, that they're all lazy and feckless, which is a bit rich coming from a generation that could buy a house for 50p, support a household on one income, and wouldn't have to worry that an ambulance wouldn't turn up if they were dying. The thing about this article that particularly boiled my piss was the Conservatives having the audacity to tell young people that they need to know the importance of civic service and fostering a sense of duty, when on their watch the country has gone to shit because they've been more preoccupied with filling their pockets than acting in our interests. Another thing that's got massively on my knockers is the debate around Labour talking about bringing in votes for 16 and 17-year-olds, which I think is a great idea. Now, they're saying that those young people would have to have politics on the curriculum before they could make a decision. I'm all for politics being on the curriculum, and we all know why it isn't, don't we? Because the Tories think that only people that go to Eton should be allowed a political opinion. They like to keep us thick, don't they? But older people suggesting this, when it's their demographic that believe racist memes on Facebook about Muslims trying to stop Christmas and who get their political opinions from the Daily Mail, don't really think they're in a position to lecture young people about their information sources, are they? Another argument is, oh, well, you know, that means there'll be more left-wing voters. What's, you're actively trying to stifle political opinion that's not your own? Fuck off. And finally, it'll only be the poor kids that are forced into this, won't it? One of the places they suggested was the RNLI, because that's precisely the place that you want to send a disgruntled 18-year-old that doesn't really want to be there, isn't it? This neatly leads me on to my final point of rage for the day. Rich people crying about private schools, and the Tory graph trying to blame that on Labour. Now, I personally don't give a toss if these dysfunctional sociopath factories close down. The more the better, I say. I also don't care if you want to send your kids to private school. No. Just don't pretend that you're not buying advantage. Don't pretend it's not an extravagance or a luxury. Don't pretend that the concept of a meritocracy is anything but a myth. And finally, and most importantly, don't expect the poor to subsidise your extravagances, you entitled bastards. You don't deserve tax breaks, you don't deserve charitable status. These people would be the first to moan about people on benefits daring to have a television or a phone, wouldn't they? And also, the claims in that Tory graph article are really easily debunked. They're trying to claim that the school is closing because of Labour bringing in policy that will tax private schools. What they fail to mention in the article is that the school's income has been consistently lower than its expenditure, with a notable decline starting in 2018. Who is in power then? Essentially, it's a lack of fiscal responsibility. Read articles, not headlines. If you can, they put this behind a paywall.
There we go. That's what I say from that. She is right in some kind of way. She has her own opinion, don't we all?
It's not in power yet. The Tories have been in power for 14 years. I wonder who's to blame. So my final points on this madness. Even old school Tories don't want this, no. They're evil, but most of them are clever and have sense. But most of them are long gone because Johnson got rid of all the moderates to push through Brexit, didn't he? I think Johnson was secretly an undercover lefty. Yeah, because he single-handedly managed to bring down the Conservative Party in its entirety. He's left the lunatics to take over the asylum. And now they're so desperate to do anything to get back people from the National Front, I mean reform. They're one step away from throwing Sunak in a mini-skirt and a crop top into a Conservative club and just saying, have a go. I joke about them bringing back capital punishment, but, you know, it's a possibility, isn't it? Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. Who knows what I'll have to tell you.
There we go. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give it a like, give a comment, share it with your friends. Thanks for joining me. Take it easy, peace. See you next one. See you later.